Okay, so we are live. Thank you, Manisha. Thank you so much. So, guys, a very good evening to all of you who have joined in, and a very warm welcome to today's session. Right, एक बार फिर से आपका पुनः एक बार फिर से स्वागत है. So we are actually taking this series of analyzing mocks, IPM mocks every Sunday, and this is the time wherein we always meet regularly every Sunday. For the last 2-3 Sundays, we are actually meeting, and we have been analyzing the IPM mocks जो IIM रोहतक के लिए आप देते हैं examination. And the thing is that this is the series which we are taking it through. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for joining in. So today, once again, we present before you the detailed comprehensive analysis of IPM 7 and IPM 8 mocks, जो I hope आपने इस week बहुत ही शिद्दत के साथ, पूरी honesty के साथ, पूरी sincerity के साथ और पूरी लगन के साथ आपने ये mock दिया होगा. I'm sure that you must be wondering कि सर मैंने 100 क्वेश्चंस थे सर, IPM 7 मॉक पे भी 8 मॉक पे भी 100 क्वेश्चंस थे, मैंने इतने अटेम्प्ट्स किए हैं. इस मतलब आपके मन में ये बिल्कुल ये प्रश्न होगा और ये मन में ये सवाल उठना भी चाहिए कि सर हमने जो 100 क्वेश्चन अटेम्प्ट किए हैं उसमें एक्सपेक्टेड कट ऑफ क्या होगी आप लोगों के हिसाब से, कहाँ पे हम चीजों को ठीक कर सकते थे, where are the things which are the areas which are actually a huge scope for improvement, which have the huge scope for improvement, and at the same time आप ये बिल्कुल भी सोच रहे होंगे कि सर how to optimize my effort in this limited time. So ऐसा बिल्कुल आपके मन में सवाल उठता भी होगा, उठना भी चाहिए. अगर ऐसा सवाल नहीं उठ रहा है तो please start asking question to yourself, right? So once again this was the thing. We present before you the entire analysis of these two mocks, and before I start the analysis I would like to welcome my esteemed panelist, जो कि हम हमेशा मिलते हैं, हर संडे को हम साथ में रहते हैं, and it's an honor for me, right, to present before you this analysis along with Praveen Khanna sir. So Praveen sir, a very warm welcome sir. बहुत स्वागत है आपका सर.
Thank you, sir, and a very warm welcome to you as well. You take so much of effort in promoting the students. उनका जो level होता है understanding का वो automatically बढ़ जाता है, and they start taking questions easily, and they could solve that. Kudos to you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So let us start with the analysis of today's session. So normally ऐसा होता आया है कि means there is something called mathematics में permutation combination हम बात करते हैं, ठीक है, और permutation combination तभी सफल भी होती है और तभी उसका चार्म भी रहता है जब चीजें बदलती रहें, राइट. चीजें अगर स्टैग्नेंट एक जैसी रहे तो फिर परम्यूटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन का कोई फायदा नहीं है. सो उस परम्यूटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन को हम ड्यू रेस्पेक्ट देते हुए आज का सेशन आई शैल बी स्टार्टिंग विद analysis of the QA part first, right? So Praveen sir, with all due respect and with your permission, can I start with the analysis?
Sure sir, it's a pleasure indeed.
Thank you so much sir, thank you so much. So guys, let me set the agenda for today's session. First of all, please ये समझिए कि we are going to analyze the 2 papers, और 2 पेपर की एनालिसिस का मतलब ये होता है कि we are going to analyze 200 questions, right? 200 questions in this span of time, क्योंकि आप भी सुबह से you must be involved in so many activities, so much of studies and all those things. So we'll be giving you very crisp and a very precise to the point view as in how the paper was, right? And we are going to make it very a bit I would say to the point, right? We are not going to get into too many nitty-gritties, too many great details ki हाँ ये questions वो questions. We are just going to set the agenda that this was the question all about, and this much time you should have taken to solve the question, and this was the expected part, right? So because you all are used to the analysis now, so let me present before you the QA part first. So let us start with the IPM mock 7, right? IPM 7 first question, right? आपको अच्छे से पता है कि if you have, अगर आपके सामने पेपर होगा, because I'm sure that all of you must be having the paper in front of you, right? So अगर आप क्वेश्चन देखें तो it was from general binomial. General binomial का मतलब था कि सिंपल सा चीज था, there are n distinct points on a circle, और आपको basically number of pentagons और number of triangles देखना था. यानी the thing is that NC5 is equal to NC3 करना था, right? So very easy question. Second question was it was bit calculative in nature, थोड़ा सा, क्योंकि क्वेश्चन क्या हुआ था which is 1 by a upon 1 minus r, right? तो और ये भी कहा हुआ था कि sum of the square of infinitum is 69. आप सीधा लिख सकते थे you could have directly written a upon 1 minus r is equal to 23 and a square upon 1 minus r square is equal to 69. उसके बाद जो आगे का चीज था that was just calculation, nothing else. So far as third question is concerned, third question again ये geometry तो मैंने लिखा है, obviously Pythagoras theorem is also part of geometry, लेकिन इस question में कुछ नहीं था, बस Pythagoras theorem use करना था. So I keep this in the category of easy question. Fourth question was averages. Very easy question based on the salary. A salary is 5 by 4 of B salary and so on. Very straightforward, very easy question. Question number 1 मैं बिल्कुल कहूँगा must attempt question है. Question number 2 थोड़ा सा calculative है, but इसको attempt किया जाना चाहिए था ideally. अगर इसको आपने attempt नहीं भी किया है तो I'm sure that आपने आगे compensate किया होगा कुछ easier questions. अगर आपने इस question number 2 को छोड़ा है तो मैं आपसे expect करता हूँ कि आपने इसके एवज में, इसके compensation में आपने 2 ज़्यादा easy questions बनाए होंगे. 3, 4 very very easy, no doubt about it. There is no scope according to which you can say that's the third or fourth, हम उसको छोड़ सकते थे क्या? There is no scope about it. Question number 5 pipe and system का question है, जहाँ पे कि एक pipe there is a leak at the bottom of the tank. आपको अच्छे से पता है कि जहाँ basically leak होता है that is a negative work, जहाँ पे आप tank fill करते हो that is a positive work. It's a very very easy question. अगर question number 6 पे अगर आते हैं तो अभी हम टाइम एंड वर्क का एक लाइन का क्वेश्चन और एक लाइन का आंसर, राइट, दैट इज क्वेश्चन नंबर 6, राइट. सो टाइम एंड वर्क का क्वेश्चन नंबर 7 की अगर बात करें तो टाइम स्पीड डिस्टेंस का क्वेश्चन था. वेरी वेरी इजी क्वेश्चन. इफ यू लुक एट द क्वेश्चन तो बेसिकली P and Q start from each other at 50 and 40, right? By the time they meet, the first has traveled 100 किलोमीटर मोर. यानी कि अगर एक की स्पीड 50 है, एक की स्पीड 40 है और दोनों साथ में ट्रैवल करते हैं टू वन डायरेक्शन और एक ने 100 किलोमीटर, मतलब मींस अगर पहले की स्पीड दूसरे से 10 किलोमीटर ज्यादा है, राइट, एक की स्पीड है 40 दूसरे की 50 है, तो एक बंदे की स्पीड 10 किलोमीटर ज्यादा है, अब वो 100 किलोमीटर, बस यही करना था, राइट. क्वेश्चन नंबर 8 वेरी वेरी सिंपल क्वेश्चन ऑन द सिंपल इंटरेस्ट, राइट. नो देयर इज नथिंग इन दिस क्वेश्चन की वजह से कि आप ये कह सकें कि मतलब ये क्वेश्चन टफ है, लेकिन एट द सेम टाइम मैं आपको वो कह दूं ये कैलकुलेटिव था, क्योंकि अज्यूम करना था कि आपने x रुपीस डाले हैं, राइट, उसके बाद y रुपीस डाला है, उसके बाद z रुपीस डाला है एंड सो ऑन. तो इट वाज बिट कैलकुलेटिव इन नेचर, नो डाउट अबाउट. आप इसको अगर लास्ट में भी सॉल्व करते तो कोई इश्यू नहीं था. क्वेश्चन नंबर 9 अगेन ये लिखा तो है बट इसमें लिमिट्स यूज था, लिमिट्स यूज किया गया था. आप इसमें सीधे एल हॉस्पिटल रूल यूज करके इसको इसलिए किया है क्योंकि ये फंक्शन के फॉर्म में था, एफएक्स के फॉर्म में था. अगर ये अगर सपोज y plus 2x होता तो ये आपको देखने में ज्यादा आसान लगता. हालांकि ये क्वेश्चन भी बहुत आसान था. अगर f उसको आप जब डिफरेंशिएट करोगे और ब्रैकेट में x स्क्वायर है तो दैट इज नथिंग बट f डैश x स्क्वायर. अगेन अ वेरी वेरी सिंपल क्वेश्चन. क्वेश्चन नंबर 10 परसेंटेज का, इसको ज्योमेट्री में मैंने डाला है बट एट द सेम टाइम इट इज इन टर्म्स, इसको ज्योमेट्री का क्वेश्चन है बट इसको परसेंटेज में भी यूज किया जा सकता है, राइट. मैं कहूंगा कि इसमें परसेंटेज ज्यादा यूज हुआ है विद रिगार्ड्स टू ज्योमेट्री, राइट. क्वेश्चन नंबर 11. क्वेश्चन नंबर 11 इज अगेन ये फंक्शंस मैंने लिख दिया है सर, मैंने फंक्शन लिख तो दिया है. क्वेश्चन है, क्वेश्चन ये पूछ रहा जा रहा था कि x अपॉन x स्क्वायर प्लस 1 की a बाई b के फॉर्म में लिखना है. तो आप x अपॉन x स्क्वायर 1 को किस फॉर्म में लिख सकते थे? आप 1 अपॉन x के फॉर्म में लिख सकते थे. दिस यू कुड हैव रिटन एंड सीधा आपको आंसर मिल जाता. अगर आप देखते should be less as possible, right, and that all needs to 11th को बहुत इजी फॉर्म में दिया है. मैंने फंक्शंस पर जरूर लिखा है बट इट इज मोर ऑफ कॉमन सेंसिकल क्वेश्चन. क्वेश्चन नंबर 12. क्वेश्चन नंबर 12 में ये ऐसे क्वेश्चंस आपको fx into fy is equal to fxy, right, x and y are real numbers, तो f2 की वैल्यू 4 है तो f1 by 2 की वैल्यू कितनी, राइट. ऐसे क्वेश्चंस आपने फंक्शंस में काफी किए होंगे. ये स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड बट कॉन्सेप्चुअल, दिस शुड बी अटेम्प्टेड. क्वेश्चन नंबर 13 की बात. सो इफ आई क्वेश्चन नंबर 13 इज प्लेन logarithm, right, which says log 3 to the base x plus log x to the base 3 plus log x to the base 9 plus log x to the base 81. आपको अच्छे से पता है कि जब आप उसके बेस को चेंज करेंगे तो इसमें आपको मिलेगा आंसर, बेस 3 को क्या लिख सकते हो, log x by log 3। उसी तरह log x आप log 9 लिख सकते हो, log 9 को क्या लिख सकते हो, दिस इज नथिंग बट 1 by plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3, आपको यही करना था। ये था, एंड दिस वाज टू बी सॉल्व, राइट। क्वेश्चन नंबर 14, सिंपल क्वेश्चन, आइडेंटिटीज पे बेस्ड। अगर आइडेंटिटी आपको पता है ये सॉल्व कर पाएंगे आप, आइडेंटिटी नहीं जानते हैं तो आप इस को छोड़ देंगे, उसी में भलाई है आपकी, राइट। व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट दिस क्वेश्चन, question number 17 is simple question based on remainder form, right? 37 into 3 plus 34 into 2 plus 12 into 4, उसको 11 से डिवाइड करेंगे तो क्या रखा है, राइट। क्वेश्चन नंबर 19, competition involving some boys and girls on the school. Every student has to play one game, so total number of game, तो आप लिख सकते थे NC2 is equal to 45, क्योंकि एंड उसके बाद टोटल गेम्स प्लेड बाय बॉयज वाज 190। तो आप सपोज करो कि उस केस में आपसे क्या N1C2 is equal to, अगर 45 करते तो N2C2 क्या करना था आपको, 190। इससे आपको नंबर ऑफ बॉयज और गर्ल्स आ जाते, और उसके बाद आप उसको मल्टीप्लाई करके निकाल सकते थे कि हाउ मेनी गेम्स वर प्लेड बिटवीन बॉयज एंड गर्ल्स, राइट। स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन। क्वेश्चन नंबर 20, क्वेश्चन था कि जिसमें क्वेश्चन वाज वेरी इजी, क्वेश्चन वाज डेफिनेटली इजी। आपको एक फिगर ड्रॉ करना था जिसमें एक टावर, उसके बाद एक सिटी सेंटर कॉम्प्लेक्स दिया गया था, उसके बीच में एक बिल्डिंग है, राइट, और वो एक स्ट्रेट लाइन में फॉलो करता है। आपको सिंपल यहाँ पे लेबलिंग करनी, लेबलिंग करके आपको सीधा in this question you are supposed to do perpendicular upon base is equal to tan 30 degree put करना था, and but it could have been a bit time consuming, this question could have been a bit time consuming। so मैं short answer की अगर बात करूँ, short answer में what is my the expectation, what could be expected out of this is sir, particular thing what could be expected out of this is this particular section, ये short answer का section हमने खत्म कर दिया। तो in this particular section what my expectation was that you should have been able to attempt, you should have been able to attempt, if I may write it down here, यहाँ पे आपको जो attempt होना चाहिए था, this should have been out of 20 attempt, आपके कम से कम 14 से 15 attempts होने चाहिए थे सर, right? This should have been your number of attempts, and आपको जो net correct होना चाहिए था, जो 15 कम से कम 13 is should have been the net correct, right? So that this two, अगर मैं एक और क्वेश्चन का मार्जिन अगर आपको दे दूं, कुछ नेगेटिव मार्किंग से ऑफसेट भी होगा ये, so 12 4 जा 48 was minimum expected out of this out of 80, right? Is short answer. Now when I come to the short answer part of this thing, MCQ part is, मैं आपको एक चीज बताता हूँ, तो ये हमेशा थोड़ा सा कैच सिचुएशन होता है। रीजन इसका ये है, you have to attempt 40 questions, आपको 40 questions attempt करने पड़ते हैं। इसमें बेसिकली the selection of the question plays the most important role। सबसे मुख्य रोल इसी का होता है कि आपने कौन से किया है, कौन से क्वेश्चन को छोड़ा है। तो ये एक जनरल सजेशन था, you should have looked at all the 40 questions and you will come to know that इसमें कुछ जो कि थोड़े कैलकुलेटिव थे नेचर में। इनफैक्ट एमसीक्यू इसलिए भी जाना जाता है कि शॉर्ट एमसीक्यूज की वो थोड़ी बेहतर होती है ना। एमसीक्यूज में अगर क्वेश्चंस में देखूं, सो व्हाट आर द क्वेश्चंस व्हिच वी आर लुकिंग एट। सो द थिंग इज दैट क्वेश्चन नंबर 21, the thing is that question was given that 10 10 raised to the power bx plus 10 and 10 raised to the power cx plus 10, ये क्या होगा when a b c are in ap? अगर आप इसमें अगर कभी भी अगर x की वैल्यू नेगेटिव या पॉजिटिव लेते हैं तो आपको ये समझ में आ जाता है कि किसी भी सिचुएशन में दिस इज गोइंग टू बी जीपी, राइट? लेकिन इसमें कुछ आपको अप्रोक्सीमेशन करना पड़ता है, दैट इज द रीजन मैंने इसको मॉडरेट के फॉर्म में रखा है। क्वेश्चन नंबर 22, वेरी स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड, डिफरेंशिएशन, no needless to discuss this, straightforward, sin inverse 1 by 2x plus cos inverse 1 by 2x की वैल्यू pi by 2 होती है और उसका डिफरेंशिएशन 0 ही होगा, देयर इज नो सेकंड डाउट अबाउट इट। तो ये क्वेश्चन एक ऐसा था कि देख करके आपको मेंटली सॉल्व कर लेना चाहिए था विदाउट यूजिंग पेन एंड पेपर। 23rd, राइट, स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन ऑन द क्वाड्रेटिक इक्वेशन, राइट? क्वेश्चन था द इक्वेशन ऑफ रूट्स आर रेसिप्रोकल ऑफ द रूट्स। इसमें आपको अच्छे से पता है कि अल्फा बीटा रूट्स होते हैं, तो रेसिप्रोकल क्या होगा 1 by अल्फा प्लस 1 by बीटा। एंड हाउ डू यू राइट द क्वाड्रेटिक इक्वेशन? x square minus sum of the roots into x plus product of the roots is equal to 0. A very straightforward question. 24th, right, it was integration of inverse function जो कि थोड़ा सा टाइम कंज्यूमिंग होता है आपको, दैट इज द रीजन मैं इसको मॉडरेट के फॉर्म में रखा है। when we go to question number 25, when you look at the question number 25, it's moderate but it was a lengthy question. Again I repeat, it was moderate but it was bit calculation intensive, क्योंकि रूट्स दिया गया है k plus 1 by k plus k plus 2 by k plus 1, ये रूट्स दिया गया है, तो सम ऑफ द रूट्स आपको करना होता which is nothing but minus b by a, आपको प्रोडक्ट ऑफ द रूट्स करना पड़ता which is minus c by, which is actually c by a, so minus b by a is the sum of the roots, c by a is the product of the roots, फिर आपको ये सॉल्व करना पड़ता। this would have made it a bit lengthy in terms of calculation, तो आप इसको चाहते तो आप इसको बात के लिए छोड़ सकते थे। क्वेश्चन नंबर 28 से 31, right, when we talk about so basically 20 this question 25th which we discussed, 26th is question which was again coordinate geometry का क्वेश्चन था। क्वेश्चन ये पूछा गया था कि लाइंस what will the coordinate of the point that trisect का मतलब होता है सर 2:1 के रेशियो में, राइट? और आप ऑप्शन देखते तो आपको पता चल जाता कि ए और बी दोनों ही ऑप्शंस पॉसिबल हैं, राइट? 27 की बात करें, 27 वाज a simple plane integration। 28 से लेकर के 31 तक की बात करूं तो आप देखोगे कि 28 से लेकर 31 के बीच में द क्वेश्चन वाज जस्ट बेस्ड ऑन कैलकुलेशन, सिर्फ कैलकुलेशन था। फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन में तो आप देखिए 28 में आप सारे डेटा को ऐड करना था, उसके बाद भी 31 तक इट वाज कैलकुलेशन बेस्ड। अगर इस DI को अगर बाद में आप अटेम्प्ट करते तो it could have left you with the time wherein you could have solved 4 to 5 more questions in this time, जितना टाइम आप DI के लिए या डेटा इंटरप्रिटेशन के लिए लगाते। क्वेश्चन नंबर 32nd question if I see, right, very commonly asked question, बहुत ही commonly asked question। ये क्वेश्चन बहुत सारे एंट्रेंस, इनफैक्ट ये क्वेश्चन इतना घूम चुका है, ये कुछ अच्छे एंट्रेंस एग्जामिनेशन में पूछा गया क्वेश्चन है, ये मतलब कैट के लेवल में भी पूछा गया है, अंडर ग्रेजुएशन के लेवल भी पूछा गया है, और ज्यादातर मॉक्स और प्रैक्टिस एग्जामिनेशन में ये क्वेश्चन आता ही आता है। 32 वेरी इजी क्वेश्चन, बट ये कॉन्सेप्चुअल, क्योंकि बहुत सारे बच्चे इसमें गड़बड़ करते हैं, जो चेयर्स एंड टेबल का क्वेश्चन था, राइट? 33, राइट, हाइट एंड डिस्टेंस मॉडरेट क्वेश्चन था। 34 वाज फंक्शंस, जिसमें कि बेसिकली आपको ये निकालना था कि हाउ कम f इज ऑन टू फंक्शन, राइट? यही करना था 34 and 35 again maxima minima based था, right? The function maxima minima, it was a very easy question, right? You could have done this question, these two questions 34 and 35, you could have done this question in just 2 questions in 2 minutes। 36 and 37 इसमें बेसिकली ज्योमेट्री प्लस LR था, रेक्टेंगल को और स्क्वायर को कंपेयर किया जा रहा था। इवेंचुअली इस क्वेश्चन को आप पढ़ लेते तो आपको समझ में आ जाता कि रेक्टेंगल ही स्क्वायर, क्योंकि पेरीमीटर भी सेम है, ठीक है? क्वेश्चन ये कहा जा रहा था साइड्स ऑफ द स्क्वायर इज इक्वल टू, क्वेश्चन वाज सेइंग द एरिया ऑफ स्क्वायर इज इक्वल टू एरिया ऑफ रेक्टेंगल, एरिया भी बराबर है, और सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज इसमें दिया गया है कि पेरीमीटर ऑफ द स्क्वायर इज आल्सो इक्वल टू द पेरीमीटर ऑफ रेक्टेंगल। तो रहा कि फिर रेक्टेंगल रहा कहां, वो तो स्क्वायर बन गया, और उसके बाद आपके सामने आंसर था। क्वेश्चन नंबर 38, प्लेन इंटीग्रेशन, राइट? थोड़ा टाइम लगता बट इट वाज अ प्लेन इंटीग्रेशन। क्वेश्चन नंबर 39, डिफरेंशियल इक्वेशन का बहुत ही इजी क्वेश्चन आपको दिया गया था, right? Differential equation of the all the straight line passing through the origin, आपको ये straight forward question था differential equation के लिए। क्वेश्चन नंबर 4040, जिसमें कि बेसिकली आपको एक मैट्रिसेस बना करके आपको अच्छे से पता है डिटरमिनेंट फॉर्म में आप द पॉइंट्स P Q plus R, Q R plus P, R P plus Q, ये कौन से पॉइंट्स हैं जब आप इसका डिटर्मिनेंट निकाल करके इसको सॉल्व करते तो आंसर 0 आता है। इसका मतलब सिंपल सा आंसर है कि दीज पॉइंट्स आर कोलिनियर, एक ही लाइन में लाइक करते हैं, राइट। नाउ क्वेश्चन नंबर 41, स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड केस। भाई एक पीए दिया है, प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ अकरेंस ऑफ ए 0.6, अकरेंस ऑफ बी 0.3, पूछा जा रहा है ए यूनियन बी क्या होगा, और उसकी वैल्यू 0.9 दी गई, ऑलरेडी ए यूनियन बी 0.9। ये देख के ही लग रहा है कि दीज आर म्यूचुअली एक्सक्लूसिव इवेंट्स, राइट। 42 वेरी वेरी इजी। 42 एक ऐसा, मैं अगर क्वेश्चन रिपीट कर दूं आपके लिए, क्वेश्चन रिपीट सुन करके आपको ये पता चल जाएगा कि दीज आर वेरी वेरी जनरल क्वेश्चंस। √4 प्लस √4, √4 plus √4 minus √4 plus √4, and this kind of questions are very common. ये number system में ऐसे क्वेश्चन काफी पूछे गए हैं, स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन। 43 लॉगरिथम का क्वेश्चन है, वेरी वेरी इजी क्वेश्चन, राइट, इजी टू टेक, इजीली टेमेबल। 44 फंक्शंस का क्वेश्चन है, पूछा गया कि इंक्रीजिंग किस में है, डिक्रीजिंग किस में है, आपको सीधा f' इंटीग्रेट करके निकालना था, और उसके बाद एक नंबर लाइन पे इसको प्लॉट कर सकते थे। यू कुड हैव प्लॉटेड दिस ऑन द नंबर लाइन। सो दिस इज क्वेश्चन नंबर 44। 45 45th क्वेश्चन को बनाने में आपको, अगर 45th क्वेश्चन जो ऐसा क्वेश्चन था जो कि इजी क्वेश्चन था, बट एट द सेम टाइम इट वाज कैलकुलेशन बेस्ड, मॉडरेट था, कैलकुलेशन बेस्ड था। अगर आपने 46th को बना लिया होता, 46 could have been easily solved, right? 47th question. 47th question is based on average, right? Straightforward average का question है। आपने ये क्वेश्चन बार बार सुना होगा कि ट्रेन अगर विदाउट एनी इंजन, विदाउट एनी कंपार्टमेंट, इंजन जो है इतने स्पीड से चलती है, लेकिन बेसिकली जब उसमें कंपार्टमेंट्स ऐड किए जाते हैं तो उसकी इतने कंपार्टमेंट के साथ साथ उसकी स्पीड इतनी कम होती जाती है। दीज आर द वेरी straightforward questions and conceptual, yet very conceptual, which is asked in the averages, right? तो इसको मैं बेसिकली 47 को मैं इजी बट कॉमन क्वेश्चन है, बट एट द सेम टाइम इट इज वेरी कॉन्सेप्चुअल। मैं इजी बोल रहा हूँ, बट एट द सेम टाइम मैं इसमें कॉन्सेप्चुअल वर्ड का यूज करूंगा, राइट। 48 इज समथिंग व्हिच वाज फंक्शंस, जो मॉडरेट में था, और ये क्वेश्चन ऐसा था कि जो कि शायद आप लोग इसमें फंस जाते हैं इसके लैंग्वेज में, राइट। सो इस 40 मिनट्स ऑफ टाइम में इट वाज एडवाइजेबल कि अगर आप इसके लैंग्वेज में फंस जा रहे हैं, इफ यू आर नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड द क्वेश्चन, बेटर लीव दिस क्वेश्चन फॉर द एंड ऑफ दिस पेपर। लास्ट में टाइम मिले तो ठीक है, नहीं तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। यू आर नॉट सपोज टू सॉल्व एवरी क्वेश्चन, राइट। आपकी प्राइमरी टारगेट होनी चाहिए टू क्लियर द कट ऑफ फर्स्ट, राइट। 49, राइट, 49 की बात करें तो करण एंड अर्जुन की बात है। ये स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन है रेसेस का, गेम्स एंड रेसेस आपने पढ़ा होगा, उसका क्वेश्चन था, इजी था। बट सेकंड केस में अगर जैसे मैंने मॉडरेट क्यों लिखा है, क्योंकि 10 मीटर पहले 100 मीटर का रेस है, अब करण क्या होता है 10 मीटर पीछे चला गया, राइट, तो उसकी बात हो रही है। इसमें आपको आंसर आता है 1 मीटर, कि 10 मीटर पीछे जाने के बाद भी करण उसको बेसिकली 1 मीटर से हरा रहा है। क्वेश्चन नंबर 50 एंड 51 एंड 52 ये आपके हम लोगों ने क्लास हैंडआउट्स में जो क्लास एक्सरसाइज और होम असाइनमेंट में क्वेश्चंस डिस्कस किए हैं, ऐसे क्वेश्चंस होम असाइनमेंट में और ऐसे क्वेश्चंस डाउट क्लासेस में काफी डिस्कस किए गए। एग्जैक्टली सेम क्वेश्चन, ये क्वेश्चन शीट का क्वेश्चन है जो कि इस एग्जाम में पूछा गया है। दिस हैज बीन डिस्कस्ड सो मेनी टाइम्स, राइट। 2 सर्कल है, एक टेंजेंट है, एक सेकेंट है, उसका क्वेश्चन था ये, तो इजी क्वेश्चन, राइट। ये इसलिए मैंने मेंशन कर दिया है कि क्लास के डिस्कशन में ये हो चुका है। 53 से लेकर के 55 तक questions are very very easy. ये आसान क्वेश्चन थे। 53, 54, 55 was easy question. But when you ये logical reasoning के क्वेश्चन थे. But when you go to question number 56, 57, 58 and 59, इसमें डेटा बहुत ज्यादा दिया गया था. You have lots of information. और आपको टेबल बनाना पड़ता और टेबल बनाने के बाद आपको सॉल्व करना पड़ता. This would have consumed a bit of your time, right? क्योंकि इसमें इंफॉर्मेशन काफी था. On the contrary, 53, 54, 55 was relatively easier as compared to 56, 57 and 59, right? Now 60 नंबर सिस्टम का था, साइक्लिसिटी का क्वेश्चन था और ये क्वेश्चन ये पूछ रहा था. क्वेश्चन नंबर 60 was asking that 3 raised to the power 200 into 4 raised to the power 500 की यूनिट डिजिट क्या होगी, राइट? आपको अच्छे से पता है कि 3 की साइक्लिसिटी 4 होती है, राइट? सो यूनिट डिजिट 1 आएगा. तो 200 को 4 से डिवाइड करो तो यूनिट डिजिट इसके केस में आएगा क्या, 1 आएगा. एंड 4 की साइक्लिसिटी 2 होती है तो बेसिकली 6 आएगा. तो 1 6 just 6, that is the answer. So this was a very very simple question. Without using pen and paper you could have solved this. This would have been, you know, definitely under your reach. अगर मैं इस सेक्शन को एनालाइज करूं, if I analyze this section और इस पॉइंट को ध्यान में रखते हुए कि यू आर हैविंग 40 क्वेश्चंस एंड यू हैव जस्ट 40 मिनट्स ऑफ टाइम, सिर्फ 40 मिनट्स का टाइम आपके पास है, तो भी इस सेक्शन में मेरा ये लीस्ट एक्सपेक्टेशन आप लोगों से ये था कि इसमें आपके आउट ऑफ 160 यू मस्ट बी गेटिंग 90 प्लस नेट करें, नेट, राइट। अटेम्प्ट वगैरह सब करने के बाद भी आपके 90 प्लस मार्क्स आए। 90 प्लस का सिंपल सा मतलब है कि आउट ऑफ 40 आपका 23 से लेकर के 24 नेट करेक्ट होना चाहिए। दैट रियली मींस आपका कम से कम 28 29 तक अटेम्प्ट होना चाहिए। दिस शुड बी योर नेट करेक्ट। सो फॉर दिस सेक्शन, पर्टिकुलर सेक्शन, so far as short answer is concerned, if I just clear this off and if I just may present before you this particular thing, I would say that, you know, so far as short answer is concerned, 48 out of 80, and MCQ is concerned, it should be 90 plus. अब 90 से ऊपर अगर 100 plus है तो बहुत salute, very good. 90 plus minimum out of 160. So that brings me to the conclusion of this QA section of, you know, mock 7 is that 140 के आसपास, 140, right, was the expectation from you. 140 was the expectation from you so far as QA section is concerned, right, out of 240, right. Now, so this was about this, you know, QA 7 part. ठीक है सर। Now let me quickly come to the QA 8 part, right? Mock 8 part. So mock 8 part मैं आपके साथ share करूँ, if I may share with you guys. So this is something which I would like to share with you. Okay. So this is the IPM mock 8 analysis. मैं आपको एक चीज बता दूं, जब मैं IPM mock 8 सॉल्व कर रहा था तो मुझे ये फील हुआ कि यार ये IPM 7 मॉक से ज्यादा टफ है। ठीक है, मुझे ये अंदर से फील हुआ क्योंकि यू नो द क्वेश्चंस वेर बिट ट्रिकी। और सबसे बड़ी बात क्या है ना कि इन द फर्स्ट हाफ ऑफ दिस क्वेश्चन पेपर, जो QA का जो क्वेश्चन था, आप शॉर्ट आंसर देखेंगे, आप MCQs का जो फर्स्ट हाफ देखेंगे, शुरू के क्वेश्चंस, तो आपको ये फील होगा कि यार ये अचानक QA यू नो मॉक 7 में और मॉक 8 में 8 की डिफिकल्टी ऑल ऑफ अ सडन यू नो 7 से ज्यादा बढ़ गई है। बट द ट्रिक वाज when you go to the last part of QA के जो सबसे लास्ट पार्ट में जाएंगे तब आपको समझ में आएगा कि यार लास्ट के क्वेश्चंस बहुत इजी हैं। मैं बेकार में शुरू के क्वेश्चंस को देख करके इस पेपर को जज कर रहा था, लास्ट के ज्यादातर क्वेश्चंस आपको इजी मिलेंगे इस पेपर में। So this was the basic idea of this, basic I would say composition of this paper, that a bit difficult question was in the first half of the question of the QA part and easier questions was towards the second half of the question. अब यहाँ पे if I may share with you that IPM mock 8, तो आप देखिए पहला ही जो फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन जो आ रहा है वो मैक्सिमम क्वाड्रेटिक इक्वेशन का है और ये क्वाड्रेटिक इक्वेशन मैक्सिमम मिनिमा से जुड़ा हुआ है which is -b/2a, जहाँ पे मैक्सिमम पॉइंट होती है। अगर किसी को ये नहीं पता है, क्योंकि इसमें आपको A अलग से A, B और C की वैल्यू निकालनी पड़ेगी, this would have been a bit difficult question for you. ये क्वेश्चन आपको थोड़ा सा clueless नजर आता because this question was a bit tricky as well. राइट, थोड़ा सा ट्रिकी था जिसमें कि आपको कहा गया था क्वाड्रेटिक इक्वेशन अटेन्स मैक्सिमम ऑफ 3 at x is equal to 1 and value of function at x is equal to 0 is 1. What is the value of fx at x is equal to 10? राइट, तो इसमें आपको जो ax² + bx + c जो ये हम लिखते हैं क्वाड्रेटिक इक्वेशन, इसमें a, b और c की वैल्यू निकालनी पड़ती है आपको और फिर देखना पड़ता है कि कौन से पॉइंट पे मैक्सिमम होता है which is -b/2a. दैट इज द रीजन इसको मैंने मॉडरेट टू डिफिकल्ट के फेज में डाला है। सेकंड वाज मेंसुरेशन, वेरी इजी क्वेश्चन, राइट। एक यू नो रेक्टेंगुलर ब्लॉक से आपको एक क्यूब को कट करना है, तो पूछा गया था कि व्हाट इज द एरिया ऑफ द यू नो व्हिच विल बी यू नो वेस्टेज, राइट। आपको अच्छे से पता है कि इसमें यू कुड हैव डन यू नो 100 सेंटीमीटर क्यूब आता और उसमें से अप्रोक्सीमेटली 64% यूज हुआ था, यानी 34% वेस्ट हो जाएगा। वेरी स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन। क्वेश्चन नंबर 3, नंबर सिस्टम का इजी क्वेश्चन, राइट। P is greater than equal to Q, P plus 2Q is 60, तो भाई बताइए कि P और Q की पॉसिबल वैल्यूज क्या हो सकती है। अब P is greater than equal to Q है, आप देख सकते हो P और Q को बराबर रखोगे तो आपको Q की वैल्यू 20 नजर आएगी, यानी कि 20 पॉसिबिलिटीज हैं। फोर्थ इज क्वेश्चन नंबर 4, स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन, बट इसमें आपको थोड़ा सा सॉल्व करने में दिक्कत होता है कि 37 1/2 मिनट्स को 37.5 में कन्वर्ट करना पड़ता, फिर एलसीएम लेना पड़ता, इसमें थोड़ा टाइम कंज्यूम हो जाता है, इसलिए मैंने इसको इजी टू मॉडरेट के फॉर्म में रखा है. When you go to question number 5, right? Very easy question, mensuration. ये क्वेश्चन डिस्कस करने की जरूरत नहीं है. क्वेश्चन नंबर 6, ज्योमेट्री, very easy question. एरिया ऑफ ट्रायंगल पूछा गया है. जब मिड पॉइंट आप बेसिकली ज्वाइन करते हो, आपको अच्छे से पता है कि तीनों साइड्स का मिड पॉइंट ज्वाइन करोगे तो एरिया 1/4 हो जाता है, जो कि 60 से 1/4 करके 15 हो जाता है, राइट? क्वेश्चन 7, क्वेश्चन नंबर 7, ये नंबर सिस्टम रिमाइंडर थ्योरम का क्वेश्चन था, which says that A, B, C, D up till Z are the remainders when you are dividing 2 raised to the power 0, 2 raised to the power 1, 2 raised to square up till 2 raised to the power 25 को 29 से डिवाइड कर रहे हो. तो इसमें पूछा गया कि k की वैल्यू क्या होगी, राइट? k is the remainder, यानी k is the 10th alphabet, राइट? सॉरी 11th alphabet. तो इसका मतलब ये आप गड़बड़, इसमें बहुत सारे लोग गड़बड़ ये कर सकते थे, k is the 11th alphabet like A B C D E F G H I J 11th alphabet है, तो उसको बहुत सारे लोग ना 2 to the power 11 लिख देते हैं, डिवाइडेड बाय 29 कर देते हैं, जबकि सच्चाई ये है कि यहाँ पे शुरुआती सीक्वेंस का जो हो रहा है वो 2 to the power 0 से शुरू हो रहा है. इसका मतलब k has to be 2 to the power 10, राइट? अब जो 2 to the power 10 की वैल्यू होती है उसको बेसिकली आपको डिवाइड करना था 29 से, राइट? So this was something needs to be taken care of. K is the 11th alphabet, तो 2 to the power 11 मत लिख देना सर, क्योंकि शुरुआत सीक्वेंस की 2 to the power 0 से हुई है, right? After that, you know, if we talk about question number 8, आपको लिमिट्स का क्वेश्चन था, इसको एक्सपैंड करना था, एक्सपैंड करने के बाद एक्सपेंशन में थोड़ा टाइम लगता है, एक्सपैंड करने के बाद आपको इसमें लिमिट्स अप्लाई करना था. क्वेश्चन नंबर 9, again it was question number 9, I would say it was moderate and it was, you know, remainder theorem. And it was, मैं इसको moderate तो कह रहा हूँ, but ये difficult भी हो सकता था because a lot of calculation is involved in this, right? Lot of calculation. X upon, you know, can also be written as x by 13 factorial. पूछा जा रहा है कि what is the remainder when it is divided by 11? तो it could have been a bit tricky question for you. So अगर ये question अगर हो गया ठीक, नहीं तो फिर इस question को देख करके अगर कुछ strike नहीं कर रहा है, it will be a wise decision to leave this question for the, you know, for the, you know, half or the end of this particular paper, right? So this was question number 9. When it comes to question number 10, geometry, easy to moderate question, right? Angle, एक angle remains unchanged और दूसरे बाकी दो साइड से उसको डबल कर दिया गया तो एरिया कितना हो जाएगा, राइट? ये सवाल पूछा गया था, राइट? Easy question but conceptual, very conceptual question, right? Question number 11, functions, modulus function था. Modulus function ये mod x minus 4 plus mod y minus 2 is equal to 5, तो उसमें x और y की क्या पॉसिबल वैल्यूज हैं? ऐसे क्वेश्चंस हम लोगों ने काफी किए हुए हैं, बहुत बार किए हुए हैं, राइट? जहाँ जिसको मॉड्यूलस फंक्शन आप इसको ग्राफ के थ्रू भी कर सकते थे, आप इसको एक्सपैंड करके भी कर सकते थे. ये x minus 4 या 4 minus x हो जाता, y minus 2 या 2 minus x हो जाता, एंड देन यू कुड हैव सॉल्व दिस, ठीक है? तो आपको ये बेसिकली 4 इक्वेशंस मिलते हैं और ये बेसिकली 2 वेरिएबल के 4 लीनियर इक्वेशंस मिलते हैं आपको, ठीक है सर? So now when it comes to question number 12, when I talk about question number 12, it's permutation combination. बहुत easy question था, right? Find the number of ways of selecting 4 members from a group of 10 so that one particular member is always selected. 8 तो select हो ही चुका है, तो बचे 9 में से 3 को लेना है, 9C3, that is the answer. 13th, the 13th again a question which is permutation combination, थोड़ा moderate था, right? इस question को strike अगर कर जाता बहुत अच्छी बात है, strike नहीं करता था अगर ये, तो आप आगे बढ़ सकते थे इस question में. 14th पार्टनरशिप का बहुत ही इजी क्वेश्चन था. 15th इज अ ज्योमेट्री का क्वेश्चन था जिसमें एंगल निकालना था, ठीक है? आपको अच्छे से पता था इसमें वो कॉन्सेप्ट लगता कि एंगल इन द सेम सेगमेंट वाज ऑलवेज इक्वल. एक 35 डिग्री है तो आपको एंगल ADC भी 35 डिग्री हो जाता, एंड देन यू कुड हैव इजीली सॉल्व दिस क्वेश्चन. 90 - 35 कितना बचता? क्योंकि एक चीज इस क्वेश्चन में बहुत ही क्लियरली मेंशन्ड है, क्वेश्चन नंबर 15 की बात करूं कि AB इज द डायमीटर. आप सबको पता है कि डायमीटर सबटेंड ऑलवेज एंगल ऑफ 90 डिग्री एट द सर्कमफरेंस, राइट? इसका मतलब था कि एंगल ADB अगर आपके सामने दिख रहा हो, ADB 90 डिग्री है और उसमें ADC 35 डिग्री है. व्हाई? बिकॉज द एंगल इन द सेम सेगमेंट इज ऑलवेज इक्वल. तो जो बचा एंगल जिसको जहां पे क्वेश्चन मार्क बना हुआ है CDB, वो क्या हो जाएगा? 90 - 35 and that gives you 55 degrees, right? So this was the question number 15, right? When it comes to 16, right? 16th is geometry का profit and loss का moderate question था, right? I would say, you know, man sold his computer at a loss of 5%. अगर 2250 पे ज़्यादा solve, you know, ज़्यादा sell करता तो he would have made a profit of 10%. Straightforward question, but इसमें थोड़ा conceptual knowledge चाहिए था. 17th is टाइम से डिस्टेंस, वेरी वेरी इजी क्वेश्चन, एवरेज स्पीड निकाला था, राइट। वो दिल्ली से लखनऊ गया, फिर वापस दिल्ली आया, फिर दूसरे स्पीड से लखनऊ गया, फिर दूसरे स्पीड से वापस आया, राइट। सो टोटल डिस्टेंस अपॉन टोटल टाइम इज द एवरेज स्पीड, इसमें यही करना था, ठीक है। 18th was question based on average. It was a moderate question, no doubt about it. 19th अगेन लॉगरिथम का क्वेश्चन था। ये बहुत सारे एग्जाम्स में आ चुका है, जैसे कैट या जैट के एग्जाम में आ चुका है, और ये बहुत बार हमारे मॉक एनालिसिस में, मॉक एग्जामिनेशन में और होम असाइनमेंट पे भी दिया हुआ है क्वेश्चन, ठीक है। ये सीक्वेंसेस सीरीज और लॉगरिथम का मिक्सचर है, जो था सिग्मा सिग्मा साइन दिया हुआ था, i = 2 से 100 एंड 1 अपॉन log 100 फैक्टोरियल टू द बेस i क्या होगा, राइट। तो इसको लॉगरिथम को log a टू द बेस b को log a अपॉन log b के फॉर्म में लिखना था, और बेसिकली इसमें आप देखें ऊपर बन जाता है log 2 प्लस log 3 प्लस log 4 प्लस log 5, log a प्लस log b प्लस log c प्लस log d क्या होता है log a इंटू b इंटू c इंटू d, और ऐसे करते हुए आप ऊपर 2 को अगर आप 100 टाइम्स मल्टीप्लाई करते तो वो 100 फैक्टोरियल बन जाता, राइट। इजी क्वेश्चन था, बट मैंने इसको मॉडरेट में इसलिए दिया है क्योंकि अगर ये प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ लॉगरिथम आपको स्ट्राइक कर जाती है, आप इसको बहुत ही इजीली बना पाएंगे, राइट। क्वेश्चन नंबर 20, राइट, वेरी सिंपल क्वेश्चन, 99th जंप में वो क्लियर कर पाएगा, राइट, क्योंकि आप देखो 1.25 जा रहा है, 0.75 आ रहा है, तो 0.5 ही वो जंप कर पा रहा है। बहुत सारे लोग 50 मीटर देख करके इसका 100 जंप आंसर दे देंगे, बट आपको ये भी चेक करना था कि भाई वो 97 जंप के बाद क्या 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 सिचुएशन बनती है। ऐसे क्वेश्चंस हमने लास्ट टाइम भी देखा है, जहाँ पे मंकी वाज क्लाइंबिंग ऑन अ पोल, और ही वाज 20 मीटर का पोल था, वो ऊपर जाता था 3 मीटर, फिर 2 मीटर नीचे आ जाता था, तो कितने टाइम में ही विल बी एट द टॉप ऑफ द पोल। ऐसे क्वेश्चन हमने पहले भी देखे हैं, राइट। सो अगेन इन सो फार एज दिस इज कंसर्न, राइट, दिस पार्ट इज कंसर्न, लेट मी टेल यू कि इसका जो पार्ट है, द पार्ट ऑफ दिस इज अ बिट, राइट, इट्स अ बिट आई वुड से 7 से कंपेयर करो तो इसमें क्वेश्चंस जो है थोड़े से आपको डाइसी लग सकते थे, बट स्टिल आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग 44 नेट करेक्ट आउट ऑफ 18 दिस, राइट। 11 क्वेश्चन आपके मिनिमम 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 सही होने ही चाहिए, राइट। आपके अटेम्प्ट ज्यादा होने चाहिए, मान लीजिए आपने 15 अटेम्प्ट किया है तो आपके 13 करेक्ट होने चाहिए, ऑफसेट करके 44 मार्क्स आउट ऑफ 80 आपके होने ही चाहिए, राइट। Now, when it comes to the MCQ का discussion करते हैं हम. So let us discuss the MCQ part. So far as MCQ is concerned, so when you look at question number 21 is a question on functions, right? It's a question on functions. आपको बताना था bijective function है कि 1 function है, on to and so on. So it was moderate, ठीक है. आपको इसको हर पैरामीटर पे चेक करना था, बाइजेक्टिव पे भी करना था, 1 to 1 चेक करना था, मेनी वन ये फंक्शन चेक करना था, राइट। सो दैट इज द रीजन मैंने इसको मॉडरेट लिखा है। क्वेश्चन नंबर 22, राइट, विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज, इसमें आपको कहा गया था कि कौन सा नंबर पॉजिटिव होगा। आप यहाँ पे सिंपल सा चीज है, x² - 4x + 8, इसको ब्रेक करोगे तो x² - 4x + 4 करोगे तो ये सीधे x - 2 का होल स्क्वायर आ जाएगा +4। अब x - 2 का होल स्क्वायर +4 आ गया, मान लीजिए क्वेश्चन दिस इज द क्वेश्चन 22, x - 2 होल स्क्वायर +4 आ गया, इसकी वैल्यू कभी नेगेटिव नहीं हो सकती सर, क्योंकि ये स्क्वायर है, राइट। तो ये हमेशा पॉजिटिव, ये सीक्वेंस, ये टर्म हमेशा पॉजिटिव रहेगा, राइट। और यही इस क्वेश्चन में पूछा जा रहा था। नाउ व्हेन इट कम्स टू क्वेश्चन नंबर 23 एंड 24, अब 23-24 टाइम स्पीड डिस्टेंस का क्वेश्चन है, एंड दिस क्वेश्चन इज एक्चुअली मॉडरेट टू डिफिकल्ट, राइट। ये इसलिए है क्योंकि बेसिकली दो अलग अलग टाइम जोन्स में 3000 का डिफरेंस है, 3000 किलोमीटर का डिफरेंस है। अब एक तरफ जाने में 7 घंटे लगते हैं, दूसरी तरफ जाने में 4 घंटे लगते हैं। तो आपको ये इस क्वेश्चन में ना ये कैलकुलेशन बढ़ जाता है कि डिस्टेंस अगर दी है 3000 अपॉन सपोज करिए यहाँ पे जाने के टाइम पे आपको 50 किलोमीटर का रेजिस्टेंस मिल रहा है, और आने के टाइम पे आपको 50 किलोमीटर का सपोर्ट मिल रहा है, और टोटल टाइम आपको 11 घंटे लगा, यहाँ पे 7 घंटे, यहाँ पे 4 घंटे। अब इसको सॉल्व करके x की वैल्यू निकालनी थी, उसके बाद ये चीज पुट करना था, राइट। सो दिस कुड हैव टेकन टाइम, एंड दैट इज द रीजन मैंने इसको पहले तो सोचना था, इसको यू शुड हैव थॉट, और उसके बाद तब आंसर आने के बाद तब आपको ये बताना था कि भाई कितने का फर्क है दोनों में, क्या एक्चुअल डिस्टेंस है और कितना का टाइम है। तो दिस कुड हैव बीन अ बिट ट्रिकी क्वेश्चन फॉर यू। सो इसको अगर आप बाद के लिए छोड़ देते तो कोई इशू नहीं था, राइट। आप इसको बाद के लिए छोड़ सकते थे, राइट। 25. So far as 25 is concerned, right? Very simple question, very straightforward question. 26, 27, right? These are the questions. अगर मैं 26 और 27 की बात करूँ, ये ऐसे questions हैं कि जो थोड़े से moderate level के थे, DI के question थे, moderate level के थे, थोड़ा calculation था इसमें. It was called calculation was there. Question number 28, right? It is moderate to difficult. इसमें आपको बहुत सारे cases देखने पड़ते हैं जो अमिताभ पिक से random number की बात है 1 से लेकर 999 तक, ठीक है? तो आपको ये बार-बार ये cases देखना पड़ता है. This, let me tell you, अभी तक this question could have been bit difficult for you. हालांकि मैंने इसको approximation से किया तो मेरा आंसर 7 आ गया था, right? अगर इसको proper method से करते, definitely it could have taken bit longer time. 29th, right? So when you look at this question number 29, very simple question, circular permutation का question है कि how many ways 6 different beads can be arranged in a necklace, right? 2 एक साथ रहेगा. इसका मतलब ये है कि total, 2 को एक साथ कर दो, 5 बन गए. 5 minus 1 factorial 4 तरीके से वो आपस में अरेंज करेंगे into factorial 2, क्योंकि वो जो 2 साथ में वो भी आपस में अरेंज करेंगे, लेकिन divided by 2 भी करना था because it is a symmetric figure. जैसा clockwise है वैसा ही anti clockwise है. Circular permutation में अगर clockwise arrangement और anti clockwise arrangement सेम होता है तो आप हमेशा उसको 2 से डिवाइड करते हो. प्लीज ऐसा मत करिएगा कि फैक्टोरियल 4 into फैक्टोरियल 2 कर दीजिएगा, आंसर 48 आ गया. 48 ऑप्शन में पहली बात तो था भी नहीं. आई गेस 48 वाज नॉट देयर इन द ऑप्शन, नहीं था. और उसको 2 से इसलिए डिवाइड करना था बिकॉज इट्स सर्कुलर परम्यूटेशन, दोनों ही साइड से एंटी क्लॉकवाइज और क्लॉकवाइज से आपको सिमेट्री मिलती, राइट. नाउ इफ यू गो टू दिस क्वेश्चन, if you look at this question, हम लोग I guess we are at 29, right? ठीक है. So when it comes to 30 could have made you think, right? 30 definitely could have made you think. 101 raised to the power 100 minus 1, right? The largest number जो इससे divisible होगा, right? And answer was actually 10,000, right? So this was the answer. This was actually a thoughtful question. इसको सोचना पड़ता है इस question में. 31 is again 31 could also be have been difficult question because उसमें quadratic plus logarithm दोनों use हुआ था, right? Question था x raised to the power u is equal to 256. आप इसमें logarithm निकालते, logarithm के बाद आपको basically u की value आती, उस u की value को आप put करते and then you would have solved this question, right? 32 clocks. ऐसे क्वेश्चन बहुत बार हम कर चुके हैं. हाउ मच टाइम डज द वॉच लूज पर डे इफ इट्स हैंड्स कोइंसाइड आफ्टर एवरी 64 मिनट. हमें अच्छे से पता है क्लॉक अगर सही है तो 65 by 11 मिनट्स या 720 by 11 मिनट्स पे वो कोइंसाइड करेगा. यहाँ पे 64 मिनट्स पे ही कोइंसाइड कर रहा है, यानी कि क्लॉक इज फास्ट, राइट? क्लॉक इज फास्ट. अब आप देख सकते हो कि 720 by 11 minus 64 करोगे, जो वैल्यू आएगी उतना का गेन है इन हाउ मेनी मिनट्स, 64 मिनट्स. And then 64 मिनट्स में अगर x का गेन है तो 1 मिनट में x by 64 का गेन होगा, and in 1 day which is 24 hours and 60 minutes को मल्टीप्लाई कर देंगे, you will be getting the answer. कुछ फ्रैक्शन के फॉर्म में आएगा. 33 इंटीग्रेटिंग फैक्टर का स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन था, इजी क्वेश्चन. 34 वेरी इजी क्वेश्चन, हाफ ईयरली आपको कैलकुलेट करना था, इंटरेस्ट हाफ हो जाता, टाइम डबल हो जाता, राइट? 35 a bit lengthy question because integration was used, तो it was bit lengthy question. आप इसको बाद के लिए छोड़ सकते थे, कोई समस्या नहीं होती अगर आप इसको बाद के लिए छोड़ते तो. 36 when it comes to quadratic, ऐसे questions आपने काफी किए हैं, very straightforward question. 36 is right. 37 की बात करूं, data sufficiency. 37 is data sufficiency का question है, and the questions are I would say it's easy to moderate. अगर आपने कैच कर लिया वर्ड, इट विल बी इजी, बट दिस क्वेश्चन वुड हैव मेड यू थिंक अ बिट, थोड़ा सा सोचने पे मजबूर करता. 38 लॉगरिथम का क्वेश्चन था कि x is greater than 0, y is greater than 0, z is greater than 0 and all are in GP, तो log x, log y, log z क्या होगा? ऐसे क्वेश्चंस भी आप पहले बहुत बार कर चुके हैं, राइट? and you know the answer as well. When it comes to question number 39, in how many ways 7 boys be seated around a table so that 2 particular boys are together. ये just question हमने अभी देखा, just देखा, but इसमें symmetry की बात नहीं हो रही because boys are not symmetrical, all the boys are different, right? Question number 40, right? 40 is a question जिसमें कि आप ये बहुत ज़्यादा concept use करना था इसमें. It was very easy but it was conceptual, right? Greatest common divisor of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 को बेसिकली एंड 9 8 7 6 5 4 3 2 1 बिल्कुल रिवर्स ऑर्डर कर दिया गया है, तो आप इसको डिवाइड करके देख सकते थे। जो रिमाइंडर आएगा, रिमाइंडर वो नंबर, वो रिमाइंडर उसका HCF होगा एंड द आंसर वुड हैव बीन 9, राइट। 41 again very simple question on probability, right? 3 से बड़ा है इसका मतलब 1/2 probability है, 5 से छोटा है यानी कि 2/3 probability है, और दोनों का कॉमन कौन सा है? 3 से बड़ा 5 से छोटा है, दैट इज वन नंबर ओनली विच इज 4, सो 1/6। इसका मतलब है कि 1/2 plus 2/3 minus 1/6 which is equal to 1, that would have been the answer, right? 42. So when you talk about 42 is a common tangent का question है and question was a bit lengthy, right? 42nd की अगर बात करें तो lengthy था, moderate, इसलिए इसको मैंने moderate की कैटेगरी में लिख रखा है। 43rd की बात करें, 43rd से लेकर के अगर 43rd ट्रिग्नोमेट्री है, 44 लिमिट है, 45 हाइट एंड डिस्टेंस है, 46 47 ज्योमेट्री है, 48 फंक्शंस हैं, राइट। 43 से लेकर के 48 तक के बीच में आपके पास एक भी ऐसा रीजन नहीं है जिसे आप मुझे दे पाए जिसके थ्रू आप कहें कि ये क्वेश्चन टफ था। मैंने आपको पहले भी कहा था कि आई डिस्कवर्ड द इजियर क्वेश्चंस एट द एंड ऑफ दिस पेपर, एट द एंड ऑफ द क्यूए सेक्शन। शुरू में क्वेश्चन ज्यादा ट्रिकी लगे बट लास्ट में क्वेश्चन ज्यादा आसान थे। 43 से लेकर के 48 के बीच में यू डोंट हैव एनी सिंगल रीजन फॉर सेइंग दैट ये क्वेश्चन हमसे नहीं हुए या टफ है। 49, राइट। So when it comes to 49 again a bit conceptual question and based on permutation combination। 50 very straightforward question on matrices, right? Matrices का बहुत ही simple question, a is equal to alpha 0 1 1 दिया हुआ है, b 1 5 0 1 दिया है and a square is equal to b 4, तो a square is equal to b कब होगा, right? 51 miscellaneous question है numbers का। alpha plus omega is something, s is equal to alpha plus omega divided by t plus rho plus omega। उसमें बेसिकली ओमेगा को चेंज किया गया है, राइट। ओमेगा इज इंक्रीज्ड एंड अल्फा टी एंड रो आर एक्चुअली कांस्टेंट। तो उस केस में आप कॉमन सेंस से वैल्यूज पुट करके आंसर बता सकते हो। आप पॉजिटिव नंबर से आप अल्फा टी और ओमेगा की कुछ वैल्यूज, अल्फा टी और रो की कुछ वैल्यू एज्यूम कर सकते हो, ओमेगा की वैल्यू बढ़ा करके यू कैन जस्ट चेक कि बेसिकली क्या हो सकता है, राइट। 52 53 54 55 56 57 58 59 60 all the questions, right? You don't have a single reason to say कि सर इस क्वेश्चन में हमें कहीं पे भी डिफिकल्टी हुई, not even a single question where you should have faced difficulty, let me tell you straight away, right? 55 क्वेश्चन रेक्टेंगल का पेरीमीटर ऑफ रेक्टेंगल 80 दिया हुआ है, आपको मैक्सिमम एरिया निकालना था। 54 स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड डिफरेंशिएशन का क्वेश्चन था। 53 नंबर्स का जनरल क्वेश्चन था। When you come to this 56 57 58 59 एक टेबल बनाना था, एक टेबल जैसे ही बन जाता आप इन चारों क्वेश्चंस के बहुत ही इजीली आंसर दे सकते थे, राइट। एंड द लास्ट बट नॉट लीस्ट क्वेश्चन इज any 6 consecutive natural numbers will be divisible by 6 natural numbers का, किसी भी 6 natural numbers का प्रोडक्ट 720 होता है, और आप किसी भी 6 consecutive natural numbers को बेसिकली मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे वो 720 से हमेशा डिविजिबल होगा। ये प्रॉपर्टी भी है, पहले भी हम लोगों ने देखा है। So इसमें जो मेरा टेक होगा, my take would be that I know giving due credits to the stipulated time which you have, but still out of 160 marks, my expectation in this would have been at least, क्योंकि लास्ट के क्वेश्चंस को मैं काफी ड्यू क्रेडिट देता हूँ, एटलीस्ट 100 प्लस। 160 में से 100 प्लस होना चाहिए था इनफैक्ट। तो इसलिए मैं अगर दोनों को सम अप करूँ, शॉर्ट आंसर को अगर मैं कहूँ इट इज 44 आउट ऑफ 80 दिया है मैंने, और MCQ को 100 प्लस दिया है, तो माय एक्सपेक्टेशन विल बी दैट आउट ऑफ 240 योर कट ऑफ शुड बी 144, यानी 144 इसमें आपको होना ही चाहिए था, राइट। Okay, so guys, thank you, and this was the analysis for 7 and 8. Now I would like to invite Praveen sir to take you all guys through the verbal ability part of mock 7 and mock 8. Praveen sir, you're most welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thanks for giving the baton here. Now I would like to share, sir. Please give me the permission to share my sheet. Thank you. Okay. So boys and girls, again, you will have to see things here. I hope everybody can see that. What I'm talking about over here would refer to as a mock 7. Mock 7 analysis is what been brought in front of you, mock 7 and mock 8. अब इसमें देखना यह है कि क्या कैसे क्वेश्चन अगेन डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड थे एंड हाउ वी कुड हैव सीन इन दैट. बॉयज एंड गर्ल्स, एवरी टाइम वी से that you're always supposed to scan the paper first, because scanning is something which is going to help you out in understanding whether I'll find the easy questions at the top or at the bottom, right? जैसे अभी विनीत सर ने भी यही चीज कही कि नीचे के क्वेश्चंस अगर हम देखते तो we could have realized in that. This generally happens in the real time paper as well, that you would see that most of the questions either would be concentrated towards at certain portion and basically towards the end of them. So looking into this entire scenario, when I scan the paper, let me show you how did it look like. This is how it looked like. Boys and girls, I hope you can see this. Where it says green here, boys and girls, you can see that it talks about Mach 7, and the top portion is little green. Then it starts with the red portion. There. And then there were certain green questions, then red, moderate variety. Then it was again evenly distributed somewhat. And then towards the end, it was again an easy part. So one thing is for sure, from a continuous analysis, we have observed one thing, that we are supposed to solve questions towards the end, because towards the end, you will find surely the questions which will be of the easy variety. Now, let me go take you through the first variety questions there, where we started with question number 61st. When I look at these questions, I find that question number 61st, 67, 63rd, they were easy to solve. Why were they easy to solve? Because obviously they were talking about vocabulary and they were the antonym-based questions. And these are the questions which we have done in the class, right? So the question comes in there, sir, so do you really mean that the vocabulary that we have done in the class, will that be repeated in the mocks in there? Not necessary, but we have done vocabulary, something which is closest possible. I repeat, we have done the vocabulary which is closest possible to the mocks in there. So you would find most of the words, the one that we would have done in the class, would appear as a part of the questions. And these questions again be lifted from different sources. जैसे अभी आपने quants के अंदर भी देखा, English में भी आप देखेंगे that these are actually real-time questions. These are real-time questions. Many of them are the real-time questions, not the homegrown questions. Yes, we mix the homegrown questions and real-time questions so that you get a flavor of everything there. So when I pick things in there, you would realize that 61st, 62nd, 63rd were easy to solve. They were easy to solve in here. Then I moved on to the question number 64th, which was sounding like as if will I be in a position to solve these parajumbles. Then I suddenly realized that parajumble is something, though it becomes a difficult task, but with the mock 7, it was an easy task, because when I look into the question 64, it was an easy question for me to solve. And why was it easy? It was easy because I could have realized that the combination was easy for me to identify, the mandatory pair as I'm talking about. Correct. So mandatory pair, as it is, this sheet is saying, it says BC. It was an easy portion for me, right? Why it was an easy part for me? Because I could find into his imagination and the series of inventions. So therefore, it was being continued in there. With this reference, I realized that it was easy for me to solve this question number 64. When I moved to the question number 65, I was again worried about whether I'll be in a position to solve that question easily and comfortably. Then I looked into 65, and that was again an easy job for me. And why was it easy? It was easy because I could find out the linkages, right? So because when over here, as you will see, that they were talking about two types of recruitment companies, and then it talks about the first one and the second one, right? The other one. So एक चीज इसके अंदर clear हो गई थी that my series would have been something like D, A, and C. That means D would come first, and then A, and then C. So with this, it was easy for me to negate option D, which was easy for me to negate option D from there. And from the remaining three options, it was easy again for me because my answer could not start with B. It was an easy step. So was it a time consuming? No, it was not a time consuming. When I'm saying it is in a green territory, that would refer to as that one was in a position to solve that within 1 minute. 1 minute is what that I'm talking about. Within 1 minute, one was in a position to solve this. Okay, so looking into the question number 66, again, it was again sounding like, will I be in a position to, but I was lucky enough to find out the relationship between the two. And what relationship am I talking about? I'm obviously talking about the melting pot and the term. The term was actually the melting pot. From there, I could relate a mandatory pair. And with this mandatory pair, it was again an easy job for me. Question number 67th, when I look into the 67th in there, I was again wondering whether I'll be in a position to solve this question number 67, but I was in a position to find out an answer there as well. ये भी एक आसान question था because it was talking about the war. It was talking about the war, and I could see that out of B and E, there were two statements which were talking about the war, while B was the first introductory element, right? But I could, when I look into the statement, I realized that each statement says the first word war was an excuse. So that means it was an introduction to it. It was an introduction to the B statement. So one thing was for sure that each statement is supposed to come before B, and it was supposed to come at the beginning because the other choices, which is either ED, EA, EB, was not making sense for question number 67. It was only the EC which was again a mandatory pair because C statement says many weapons used in the war. So that's what we were talking about. E was a starting statement. From there, it was again an easy job for me. Question number 68, I am saying it to be a little difficult to identify. Why? Because it would have been a little difficult task for me had I not known how the Renaissance is written. Because we generally we do not pronounce the French words, or even the spelling is of a different variety. But if you would have seen that how it has been written, we could have been in a position to solve it. Now, if this is the question which is coming to me, sir, how should I be looking into the spelling parts in there? Boys and girls, I think the spelling part is something like which comes along with the pronunciation. As soon as you look at the word, there's an association that you make, which is known as mnemonics. And with the same mnemonics, you are supposed to make the mnemonics for the spelling as well. Say, for example, for an insurance, insurance. I know there is an ape selling an insurance. I always write ape selling an insurance. With this, I am in a better position to identify that insurance will take A. Similarly, for a stationery, will I take the pencil eraser? Will I take E stationery or will I take E stationery? Boys and girls, again, mnemonics. Mnemonics would work for the same reference there, right? So this is how that you're supposed to find out. Once your mnemonics are correct for these, you'll be in a position to do that. And that's what we have been doing in the class as well. Finding out mnemonics is one of the things. Looking at the question number 69, I again realized that it was again an easy one. Why was it easy? Because I knew how to write synchronize, or वहाँ पे मेरा आंसर निकल के आता था. Then I looked into question number 70th. It was a little difficult task for me to identify had I not done vocabulary well, or if I would have not concentrated on analogy. Analogies are something like where I'm supposed to look for the concentration. I'm supposed to look for what the two things are talking about. अगर मुझे वो नहीं पता है, मेरे लिए ये question 70th question कर पाना would have been a difficult task for me. But still, I tried a little bit where I tried to find out the relationship. Now, though you have answer key, you know the answer for that, but relationship finding is an important point. And you know, this relationship can be of a different variety. It can range from a synonyms, antonym. It can also talk about cause and effect. It can also talk about the degree variation. It can talk about the young and the old and the young, any kind of a relationship. And mind it, boys and girls, you would have committed the mistake in these questions if you would have not realized that's an other way around, right? There were certain answer choices which were other way around. Other way around would have it was, if my question was talking about 1:2, which is a degree variation, there were answers which are in 2:1. You cannot take that as a part of the answer. Hence, this could have been into the moderate category. In question को मैं थोड़ा time लेके करने की कोशिश करता, सभी questions देखता, but still I would have realized that till question number 73rd, it goes back to the tier 2, correct, and not to the tier 1. Then I look at the question number 74th. Obviously, penitence, which was again an easy for me. I was supposed to find out closest in the meaning. I was supposed to find out the closest in the meaning. I could have realized these easy. 76th. Till question number 74th, till question number 78th. Question number 74th till 78th, I would have done that. But question number 75th was something like, which I would take this to be as the part of a little moderate. Boys and girls, what you need to understand here is, sir, why are you taking this question, this particular bedlam to be as a moderate one? Boys and girls, I'm taking this to be as a moderate because this is something with the words, though we have done in the class, but this is the word that you would find more in the newspaper reference rather than finding them in the books. I repeat, you will find them in the newspaper. So boys and girls, that's what always been said. Reading newspaper would actually help you out, not just with with vocabulary, not just with the concept, but it'll also help you out with the understanding of the entire thing, right? How the things have been framed. So this was, therefore I'll take this to be as moderate, because in general parlance, we do not use that. Otherwise, it was an okay one. Looking into the question number 79 till 86, I could have realized that these were referring to my RC1. RC1 was talking about the psychologist eagerly adopting the scientific approach. This was an easy passage for me, though this was an easy passage for me, but still I could not solve many questions from in there. I could solve only 3 questions. I could solve only barely 3 questions there. For the remaining questions would get into the moderate variety. Why? Because the answers that they are talking about, right? The vocabulary answers, the one, for example, question number 88, 81st, when it is talking about the antonym for a word called canonical. If I don't know the word canonical, it would be difficult task for me to identify this. This is a direct reference. And the answer choices are again close. The answer choices are also very close, because there are 2 answer choices which have been taken to be as a synonym. Now, finding an antonym is something like we first look into what is similar, and we could have marked answer something called B or C, while answer comes out to be as D, because we are supposed to find out an antonym. This could fall into the category of question number 81st, primarily would fall into the category of a silly mistake, right? Silly mistake is what I'm talking about with respect to question 81st. Finding out question 82nd, 83rd was again a difficult task. I wasted my time. I still solved it, but they were wrong. I solved this question because when I look into the RCs, again, boys and girls, let me tell you, if there are 6 questions or 7 questions to it, boys and girls, it is not mandatory for me to solve all the questions. I might be solving hardly 3 to 4 questions if I find the other 3 to 4 questions are in trouble for me, right? So those 3 questions, I'll not be solving in there, because I know I do not know the answers for that correctly. Boys and girls, anything which has been below 70% of accuracy should not be taken as a guess. Anything which is below 70% of an accuracy should not be taken as a guess, until and unless you would have solved many of the questions which are right, and there are few that you are taking there. In the entire paper, 2 questions can be taken below 70%, but nothing beyond that can be taken a guess in there. Guess लेने का भी एक अपना तरीका होता है, ऐसे randomly हम guess नहीं ले सकते. 65-70% you should already be knowing about this, then only you can take a risk in there. Okay, so question number 86, it was okay with me. Then I moved into 87, which is again behavior modification with respect to the autistic children. This was again an interesting passage. Primarily for me, both the passages were on the psychology-based passages, and both the passages were easy passages. They were comfortable passages, not because I am comfortable with psychology and behaviorism, but because I'll identify that both of the passages were being framed the easy manner, as well as the questions that they were talking about were again easy and direct, right? Say, for example, when I look at the question number 88, it was talking about the mending is. Now, this question could have been a tricky question. Why am I saying it could have been an easy tricky? It could have been an easy tricky question because one would have taken the answer choice, which is extremely close to the answer, If that would have been the condition, would have been a difficult task for me. So 88th question was an easy tricky, but again, I would take this to be as a doable variety there. Looking into the question number 89th and 90th, I identify the 89th question was one of the easiest variety because 89th question was primarily talking about over essence. So primarily it was a theme-based question, not just an inference, but it was also the theme-based question. And I know in order to solve these theme-based questions, it's an easy job for me. Why? You know the answer for that. First few lines and last few lines. We have been doing this in the class. Going to the question number 91st till the question number 95th, I would have realized that all of them were the grammar-based questions, and these are the questions that we have been doing in the class. This should have been a piece of cake for you. And looking into the entire picture, I could have easily realized that all the 5 questions were a doable variety. Then I moved to the question number 96 till 100. These were the time saver questions. Why would I call them a time saver? Because this would have taken not more than 2 minutes to solve the 5 questions. And if I find 2 minutes for the 5 questions, I think this is the best thing that can ever happen to me. So finding out this time saver questions is again important important point, because this is how that you can evenly distribute your time to the entire section. Right. Looking into this entire thing, I realized that there were some 28 questions. There were some 28 questions in the green territory, and there were some 12 questions. There were 12 questions in the red zone. 28 questions on that territory, and 12 questions on this zone. So when I look into the entire picture, I would have said that 28 questions were a doable variety, 12 were not doable variety. In sum up, if I sum up in them, I am still sure with the pluses and minuses that I would take. With the pluses and minuses that I would take, I know anything which is below 65% of an accuracy level, I know my flukes or my road does not work in there. So in that condition, I would have boiled down to a minimum of 26 questions. So with mock 6, I would have taken minimum of 26. Plus minus आप जो भी करते रहिए, but 26 questions आपके plus minus के बाद सही होने बनते थे. Even I'm saying आपने 2 questions यहाँ से यहाँ donate कर दिए, right? Let me assume that you have donated these 2 questions here, or I'll say you have done all the questions here, but still you have committed the mistake. 26 questions is what that I'm saying that you should have done. You should have done with 100% accuracy. That means net questions is what that I'm talking about with respect to the mock 7. Boys and girls, I hope this is something which is making sense to you. Now let me take you to the mock 8 analysis here. Let me take you to the mock 8 analysis, and I'm sure you'll be in a position to appreciate that as well. Here comes the mock 8 analysis. Looking at the mock 8 analysis, boys and girls, you would have realized that mock 8 was comparatively easier. Mock 8 was comparatively easier to the mock 7, right? Why was it the case in there? You would have come across one passage that we had already done, right? There was one of the passages which was already done before. That is in mock 6 we have done in there. But minded boys and girls, there were some different questions as well. So don't assume there might be a feeling of a deja vu that you might get looking at this Maya collapse wala questions, right? This Maya collapse passage, you might get a deja vu that, sir, we have already done such a, yes, you have done in there, but there were certain questions which were different as well. So that again would have given me a little edge because I knew some of the questions. I had done that. So I would say that you would have got the picture there and you would have got this in a green territory there. When I look into these, I find that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions. There were some 10 questions which I could find that were in the red territory, while there were so 10 questions, 30 questions were in the green territory. So 30 and 10 is what that I'm talking about here. Boys and girls, again, let me take you to the first passage. I don't think that this would require much introduction because you have already gone through this passage and you already know the Maya collapse we talked about in the analysis of the 6th one. So there it was a comfortable for us. And we had realized that the passage was again easy, barring one question, which was a fact-based question, which was difficult to explain, which was again a 65, because the question was talking about, which is difficult to explain the reason for Maya collapse. Now here you were supposed to read the entire thing and it was a time waster. I would consider this question number 65th as a time waster. You could have you could have avoided that once you would have scanned the entire paper. Scanning again is an important point. Looking at the question number 66 to 70th, I could realize that it was talking about a language, and language is not a culture, but it is the product of a well-engineered biological instinct, right? So ये बहुत अच्छे से explain passage था, questions भी बहुत ज़्यादा difficult मुझे नहीं लगते थे, but yes, looking into that, I've already done one reading comprehension from there. It would have been a difficult task for me to identify some of the questions from there. So I would have done net 3 correct and 3 wrong. I would have done 3 correct and 2 wrong. Let me say that 2 correct and 3 correct and 2 wrong. With that reference, I would have realized something, that there were certain questions which were not to be done. For example, question number 68 and 69 were the questions I would have said that you should have not taken that at all. Right. So similarly with question number 70th, which was an easy theme-based question, I always get a feeling whenever I get a theme-based questions, I'm very happy because I know where to find the answer, because it was talking about the summarize. And the sentences were also not long, and the answer choices were not also similar. देखिए प्रॉब्लम तब होती है जब चारों आंसर चॉइसेस एक जैसे दिखते हैं, तब मुझे समझ में नहीं आता है कि कहाँ पे आंसर लेना. But here I could easily realize that all the 4 answer choices were different and were different neatly framed, and all the 4 were talking about the different directions. If the 4 are in different directions, I know which direction I'm supposed to take, and hence I would have taken that as an easy one. Looking into the question number 71st, it was an easy part for me. 71st was an easy part for me to identify as an answer. But question number 72nd, 72nd would have been a difficult task. Why am I saying that? Because generally, what students do, boys and girls, please avoid this thing, which is known as a gut grammar. You would have committed the mistake with question number 72nd if you would have used a gut grammar. Boys and girls, please avoid this gut grammar. Use the grammar which you have learned now. That was the purpose of you to come down to such places and coming down to Pratham and doing and practicing for last several months. So the reason is that you should have known in that. If you were using a gut grammar, you would have surely committed this mistake by no error. 72nd would have gone in there. While till 75th, I don't find there was any kind of difficult question in there, but yes, it was an easy one to get into. Then I realized that question number 76 and 77th were about the parajumbles, which were a little difficult task for me to find out. I'll tell you why it was a difficult task for me to find out, because I could not find out a mandatory pair. And also the statement length was bigger. With that reference, it was a difficult task. Also, I identify that UCSF is being given in A and B. So even if it has been given in A and B, I could not take A and B together. I could not take A and B together. And with this, I would have committed the mistake if I would have talked about taking D as an answer there, right? So where I could C as an answer, where AB was a correct one, was a mandatory pair according to the students, right? Which was again a mistake there. Boys and girls, whenever I said that the two statements of the same issue are to be clubbed, those clubbing has to be done on the basis of the rationality, and the rationality is there anything coming in between? That is to be seen in there. Boys and girls, if I look at this 76 statement, 76 question, which is parajumbles, I'll find that the A statement is more of a concluding statement. It was a concluding statement, and we have done this in the class today. So with this reference, question number 76 and 77th was again a difficult task, while 78th was easy and 79th was easy. Why was 78th easy? Because it was a fact-based one. Boys and girls, whenever I get anything on the basis of the fact, it's an easy job for me to derive an answer. But anything fact would refer to as the chronology. The chronology was easy to identify, and with that, I would have taken this as an answer. Similarly, with question number 79 as well, the chronology was an easy part for me. With this chronology, it was easy for me to identify that C, E, and A. C, E, A is a mandatory pair, and with this, I would have taken this. Looking into the question number 81st till question number 85. 81st question was again talking about the phrase replacement. It was an easy job for me to identify question number 81st till question number 85th. In 83rd, yes, there was some kind of a typo error. The typo error would refer to as the underlying sentence. But looking at all the answer choices, I would have seen that it was not just till which means comma and two till which means, but it was till which means quotes and two. So entire part. So this fill in the blanks, this dash, this underline should have gone extended till two, correct? And boys and girls, with this typo error, again, it was an easy job for me because we know where to use which. सिंपल सी इशू था, हमने बहुत बार किया है, हमने बहुत बार परसेंटेजेस में आपको ये चीज बताई है. All the faculty members have talked about this, when to use which and when to use that, right? Clear cut functions हैं, and I can see that there is a comma. And we can see that there was a comma there, right? Which means with the 83rd, we could see a comma. और हमें comma के साथ लगाना आता है. With that, it would have been an easy job for me to identify what is my answer. Boys and girls, I am sure you would have also done with the same reference. With this, I realized question number 86 till 90th. Question number 86 till 90th, they were talking about the fill in the blanks. Almost all the questions were easy, barring question numbers 87th and 88th. If I talk about question number 87th, I hope you know the difference between respected, respectable, and respectful and respective, right? So in some अलग functions है, which we have already done in the class, and categorically we know about this, right? So respectively. So when we say respectively, that is for the associations with that element in there, and respected parties. So that's what we say. So from there, we would have derived this as an answer. But it was again a little difficult. I would have taken this to be the moderate. 88th question was a slightly tricky question. 88th question was a tricky question because the way it was being formulated, the way this question was being formulated, I take this to be as the tricky question, because the answer choices that I realize here were extremely close. Because when we are talking about mild attack, when we talk about the mild attack, and then it was restricted, otherwise he is still very active. So otherwise he is still very active. With this, if I would have used little common sense in there, that means the person is active also. If it is active, then his movement cannot be entirely restricted. But we have seen that most of the students have given that answer as A, which was again a tricky element, while the answer was D here. Question number 89 and 90th was easy. And moving on towards the last portion and the last tranche of this mock 8, we could have realized that almost all of them were okay. These are the ones that I've already done. 91st till 95 was a spelling one. I would see them as an easy one because I know what is genuine. I've been using it day in, day out. I know what is disease. How is detergent being used? It is not detergent, but it is being used as a detergent, right? I understand committee. There are multiples M, multiple T's, multiple E's. That's how we know. With that reference, we could have derived this to be as a correct option. With a 95th, again, examination was an extremely easy reference to get into. Coming to the last set of mock 8, 96 till the 100th one. Looking into 96 till 100, I could realize that almost all the questions were easy when I talk about acid test, when I talk about cut the ground, or when I talk about other elements. But with looking into the 97th, it was a little difficult to find out the answer choices, had I not known the direct reference. Boys and girls, let me tell you, 97th was a tier 2 idiom. Boys and girls, I believe you know this, and we have been doing categorically about tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 1 would refer to as something which you can still derive some meaning out of that, right? While when I talk about tier 2 is something like which you cannot identify, you cannot make out of blue, or something from a knowledge I can derive the meaning of that idiom. You cannot do that. So that was the reference with the 97th. While till 100th, I did not find anything complicated. So here also, when I look into the complete picture, I realize that there are some 10 questions. There were some 10 questions in the red territory, and there were some 30 questions in the green territory. So if I would have done pluses, minuses, and everything in there, I don't see that you would have done anything less than 27 as the net questions, right? So there I talked about 26 in mock 7, and in mock 8 it will be 27, right? But did you realize, boys and girls, that in any paper, you would find 1/4, which is the 25% of the paper, to be into the moderate category, right? While out of the other questions, you would be caught in there. So this is the way the questions would be made in any of the mocks in there, right? So please understand on this portion, correct? So with this, I say that mock 7, it was 26. With mock 8, it was 27, right? So this is what a little differentiation that I can say. Otherwise, it surely made sense for us, correct? So most of the students, again, you might be having a feeling that, sir, is this the same pattern or no pattern, no pattern, boys and girls? Tomorrow we have a session where Ankit sir, Vineet sir, and I, 3 of us would be together with you for you to help you out with how to look into this, the changing strategy, and what to think about this. But to give you a little hint here, please do not bother. Do not bother at all. Please do not bother at all. That's what we'll say there, right? So, but detailed information would be given in tomorrow's session, where we would come down and we would share how this has changed or what strategy that you should adopt now. Detailed information would be given by Ankit sir, Vineet sir, and I, obviously tomorrow. I think, Vineet sir, tomorrow 7:15, right?
Yes, sir. Tomorrow it's 7:15 and all the queries will be resolved, including the queries like, time has been reduced, 120 minutes से 90 minutes हो गया. Question is now total 60. How to go about that? And more so people have specific queries between DUJAT and, IPM, IIM Indore, because it's a clash.
Correct.
So all the queries will be resolved tomorrow. And, Ankit sir, you and I'll be there. So we'll be there. So tomorrow it's 7:15 p.m. sharp.
So that's a part for you, sir. The mock 6, 26, mock 7, 26, mock 8 will be 27. So this is what.
So that brings the tally. That actually brings down the tally to, when I just summarize this analysis, this entire analysis, and when somebody wants to have a look at the expected cutoff, or how much he or she should have scored in order to be in a comfortable zone. So you would be most comfortable when it comes to mock 7, IPM 7. Short answer, I already mentioned 48. MCQ, it was 90. And so far as verbal ability part is, sir actually mentioned 26. 26. Right. So this is something which I mentioned in marks. So 26 scores are definitely
104. Correct.
So that brings down the tally to 138 plus 104. That gives me 242. And as also sir said that relatively this part was easier. Now giving you the benefit of doubt that thinking from a student's point of view, wherein there are so many variable factors like the temperament, the anxiety, the pressure, the tension, and at the same time, the rush to, attempt the questions. If I just give all the benefit of doubt to you, then still I would definitely expect a 225 plus in this paper. Am I right, sir? When I
correct, sir. It has to be 225 because that's a bare minimum, because the things would surely go higher than this.
Definitely, sir. And so far as IPM 8 is concerned, in short answer, I gave the tally. This MCQ, I gave 100, and sir has given in verbal ability, it's 108, right? So now in this, you have to score better than what you have scored in, IPM 7. So that brings the tally to, this 152. Giving the benefit of doubt to you guys.
Sir, I think it's 108, 144.
252. Right, 252. So I missed it. Thank you, sir. So giving the benefit of doubt, in terms of everything, like, the rush, the anxiety, the pressure, the temperament, and all those things, in this particular test, we'll surely be expecting from you 235 plus. Sir, your take on this?
I would also agree with that, sir. I mean, I can also go on a little higher side for this as well. 235 is again okay, because as I said, this was a comparatively easier paper. And when you were also analyzing, I could realize that even the quant section was comparatively easier. So overall reference would come down to 235 by all chance, sir. That's obviously there.
So 235 is the bare minimum which we are expecting out of 400 in the IPM 8. And 225 plus out of 225 out of 400 in the IPM 7. This is something which we least expect out of you in these two mocks, right? So guys, so I hope that you would have got an overall picture of that how was the mock and how the cutoff is going to be like, right? Stay tuned with us in the next analysis. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay happy. And since you have just 1 week of time left, so keep practicing hard, study well, and please make us proud. And tomorrow, stay tuned at 7:15 because we'll be basically discussing and we will be analyzing the entire strategy. We'll be telling you the strategy for the new pattern of IIM Indore examination. So it is exclusively going to be on the new exam pattern of the pattern strategy of IPM Indore. At the same time, we'll be taking all the queries as well regarding the date clash, which should be preferred and all those things. So stay tuned at 7:15. So boys and girls, we presented before you the analysis of IPM 7 and IPM 8. So this was all from our side. Thank you, Praveen sir. Thanks a lot to you again for your precious time.
Thanks.
With this, we'll call it a day. Thank you so much for joining in. and thanks for your time and your cooperation. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.